Hi, welcome to day 4 of the Burned Out to Bliss challenge. I am so glad that you're here and I'm glad that you're sticking with it. I really hope that these tips and tricks are making big impact in your life because they really are simple but can make such a difference for your everyday running of your home and your homeschool. Today we're going to tackle the issue of getting it all done. Yesterday we talked about meal planning and we've talked about mindset and making time for you. But at the end of the day, the to-do list is huge. And we all have children to take care of, obviously, if we're homeschooling, and we have a home to take care of because there's some place that we're schooling, right? So all of those mom and wife duties don't disappear just because you have this new job of homeschooling your children. And it can become completely overwhelming. One of the first things I have to say is that you need to let go of some of your unrealistic expectations. We live in a culture that thrives on everything being perfect and showy and being able to share it on Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook. So we want everything to always look like a magazine cover. And I hate to tell you that even those Better Homes and Garden houses that are in the magazines don't look like that every second of the day. They're staged, they are photographed in their best state possible. And so that is an unrealistic expectation to reach. When you are living in your home, and not only living there, but working and running a school and raising children, it cannot look like a magazine cover every moment of the day because people are there, people are using it. And really, when you think of how much our houses cost, like they talk about the cost of living, think of how much it is costing to live where you live, whether it's rent or mortgage or taxes or whatever it is, home association fees, it goes on and on. How much is it costing you to live there? How many hours are you or your husband or both of you working to pay for that? And you're spending all this money, you want to get to use it. Now, I don't like clutter. I don't like things out of order. Really, I would love for my house to look like one of those Better Homes and Garden houses because if you notice, there's never any clutter around. You can just walk around. Everything has a place. Everything's in its place. But when you have little people and a husband who are there using it, it can't always stay there because you buy them these toys and these art supplies and musical instruments for them to use. And once they take them out to use them, it creates an atmosphere of things not being perfect because that you had that spot in the closet for that game or that learning tool. But if it just stays in the closet, there's no point in owning it. One thing that I have learned over the years, and I've really come to be a purger because I don't like clutter, is that if you have something but it's tucked away, like if you have all these things in storage and you never use them, like what's the point of having them? If they sit in a box for years on end, then they're not serving you at all. Maybe they could serve somebody else. So in order for them to serve you, they need to come out into the house and they need to be used. And that creates the tension of now there's things all over my house. At the same time, you want to be available to your children and you want to be educating them and providing them with opportunities to do things. You can't do that if you're busy running behind them, making sure that everything is perfect. So letting go of that expectation, because homeschooling is a completely different ball of wax than having your children outside of the home for 7+ hours a day in school and activities and such. Because when you clean up in the morning and they go off and then they come home, have a quick snack, and they're out for 3 more hours for activities, come home, have dinner, and go to bed, and do that 5 days in a row, there are going to be things to clean up. I mean, that's life. Life is messy. You need to clean up. But it's not the same as them having every meal at your kitchen table, them having every snack at your kitchen counter, you providing all of that. There's nobody else providing it. There is no school store. There's no lunch lady cooking. You are doing that. There's no art teacher doing the art project and cleaning up after it. You are doing that. There's no janitorial staff. I mean, think of how many people it takes to run a school. And when it comes down to it, you are everybody in your school. And it is easier to educate a few children than to educate thousands. But still, all of that comes to you. and it's the place you live too. So you need systems in place to get it done, just like schools have systems in place to get it done. So these are a couple of my quick tips. One of them is embrace the 2-minute tidy. And sometimes I call it 10-minute tidy, sometimes it's 5-minute tidy, but a 2-minute tidy can do wonders. Because a friend of mine once brought this up and said to her family, if after dinner, she has 5 children living at home at this point, if after dinner, all of us spend 10 minutes cleaning up, that's over an hour's worth of work getting done. And I thought, that's brilliant. And it's true. So we have certain times that we do 2-minute tidies. And now it's after read aloud, because the downstairs classroom playroom is the place that gets the craziest. Why? Because it has so much going on. And I want them doing projects and building things and whatever, but they just aren't going to clean up on their own. So after read alouds, it's 2-minute tidy up time. And that means everybody takes 2 minutes and just cleans up a few things. Now you might think, what can you really get done in 2 minutes? Well, if everybody is helping, you can get a lot done. And also it relieves the constant nagging, because now they have a set amount of time. They know if I do this for 2 minutes, I'm gone. And everybody's concentrated effort for 2 minutes is cleaning up. So we have regular 2-minute tidies in the living room as well. Sometimes we have 2-minute tidies on our enclosed porch. But I have to say, embrace the idea of the 2-minute tidy. If it's really a mess, you can make it a 10-minute tidy and set an alarm. But the point of only spending a certain amount of time on it and then moving on really makes a difference. The second one is get your kids involved. If you are homeschooling, then that means you have at least one child who is school age, which means there are things that they can do. Now, obviously, they can't do everything, but there are things that they can do. A 5-year-old can wash dishes. A 5-year-old can sweep up. I'm still working with my 5-year-old to get that done well, but he can do it. And sometimes that's part of lowering the expectations. For them to learn how to do it, they need to practice and get better. So you need to lower your expectations while they're learning that. A 5-year-old can make a snack for himself. A 5-year-old can put away clothes that are folded, or help you with folding clothes, or help you with sorting clothes. There are all kinds of big jobs that take your time. And I feel like laundry and dishes are the biggest ones. Laundry, dishes, and floors. Those are my 3 big ones. And so in our house, what we've done is we've divided those up and we take turns doing those. So between my husband and my 2 older children that can handle doing some of the bigger jobs, we rotate who does that job. And that is your job. That is your mission. You need to take care of, if you're doing dishes, you are taking care of all the dishes all day long, every day until you're off that job. Now that still leaves plenty for me to do, but we try to divide it up. And so by dividing it up and taking turns, we can help to get things moving along. And that is the big thing. It's not just a matter of them cleaning up after themselves, which is a huge help. I'm still working on that. So if you're still working on that, don't feel alone, because it's like a mental block for kids. But taking on the other things in the house, because when it comes down to it, they're eating the food. So they're, my daughter really likes to help with cooking. So they're eating the food, they're using the dishes and the silverware, they're wearing the clothes. All of those things are happening, and it's part of contributing to keeping it running. Because just like schools have staff to keep the school going, your children are part of your school, and they're part of your home, and they're part of your family. So you need to involve them in what needs to be done around the house to keep it going. And I know that we tend to think of kids like, oh, they can't handle it. But when you make them do hard things, they really step up and they rise to the challenge and do what needs to be done. So there are certain things that a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old might not be able to do, but I guarantee you that there are many more things that they can do than you think that they can do. And when my kids are younger, I do a lot of Montessori type activities with them to learn practical life. And I love practical life. I love integrating that into our homeschool. Practical life has kind of fallen out of favor in the general public. Most of the schools do not have wood shop anymore. They don't have home ec. They don't have these practical skills that we teach people. And you know what? Our society is suffering because people are getting out and they don't know how to do these things for themselves. So practical life is a huge part of homeschooling because they are there every day seeing how a house runs. And so they need to be a part of that to make it run. I strongly, strongly urge you to make that a part of your schooling because it is education, and it's education, it's life skills that they need. It's not just STEM and reading and, acing the AP exam. Life skills are the type of education that they will use forever. So, my big challenge to you today is to see what you can first. When can you fit in at least 1 2-minute tidy? And pick the area that is the real sticking point for you. The one that's driving you the most crazy right now. You're going to have to do a big cleanup to begin with, but then find a time in your day, in your homeschool day, and like I said, incorporate it into your routine and your transitions. Do a 2-minute tidy on that. Second, find jobs for your children and make them bigger jobs than you think that they can do. Because I know even though I give my kids some big jobs that some people are like, oh, my kids could never handle that. I know that my kids could handle more. I'm just not willing to jump on it because that mom guilt, filters in. We all have mom guilt. Drop the mom guilt, drop the checklist. Do it what works for you. And find a way that your children can help in the areas that you need. So, for instance, like I said, the big thing for me is dishes, laundry, and floors. Those are the big sticking points because I feel like I could spend my entire life washing dishes, washing, sorting, folding, distributing clothes, and sweeping floors. Seriously, it could be a full-time job. So we were working on, different chore charts and whatever, and it wasn't working. And finally I said, listen, this is what I need. And so I want you to sit down and figure out what is it that you need? What is it that is taking such an overwhelming toll on you to try to get that done and school? Because for all of us, it's something different. It may be that floors are really easy for you or whatever it is, and it's something else that is really just taking a toll on you, and you feel like you can either do that and keep it going, or you can educate the children. So whatever that is, I want you to take that and figure out how, as a family, you can accomplish it, not just how you can accomplish it. So I thank you for being here, and please check out the workbook. Please drop in the group and post any questions or comments that you have. And I really hope that this helped you. Thank you, and I'll see you again tomorrow for our last day of the challenge.